Hi everybody and welcome to Learn Live Streaming Live. My name's John Lacey. Today on the show we're going to be talking about YouTube and optimizing your profile, working with playlists and podcasts, and just giving you your channel a bit of an update for the new year. I know technically it's February here, so I'm kind of working under the premise that it's the new Lunar year. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But we are going out live to all the various places. So if you are watching live, let me know in the chat where you're watching from. It's certainly great to have your company. And let's just get stuck right in. So let's head over to YouTube. This is my profile at Learn Live Streaming. Again, I'm not going to pretend this is the most exciting thing in the world. I think a lot of this needs a bit of a redo, and I need to go and make up a whole bunch of different things and start again. But I think we should explore some of these things because, especially if you set this up a number of years ago, it probably is a good time to revisit all of the things. So let me just take you through this profile right now. So again, at Learn Live Streaming on YouTube, if you want to play along at home. But essentially, I've got my banner here at the top of the screen. We'll talk more about that in a moment. I've got the channel name, which is Learn Live Streaming with John Lacey. And again, you can see I've got the @ handle. Hello to Saeed, who's joining us from Germany. Great to have your company today. So we've actually got, we've got the subscribers, we've got the number of videos. We do have a bit of a blurb here. And again, you'll see that sort of the first line of that is visible, and then we can click more. This is definitely something I'm going to need to revisit. So we'll talk about that in a second. In fact, what I might do, I'm just going to increase the zoom in my browser a little bit to make this a little bit more obvious. We might even go full screen as we talk through this as well. All right, awesome. So hopefully that's a little bit clearer. But essentially, we've got the About section. There's a whole bunch of things happening in the About section, some of which I probably want to review as well, and we'll get to that in a second. But then we've got the elements of our channel profile. So we can actually come in and customize these, and we'll do that in a second. But right now, you'll see that I've sort of got the forthcoming live stream, which is literally the one we're doing right now, at the top of this screen. In fact, if I refresh this, you'll see that it'll disappear, and upload upcoming live streams there as well. So I guess that's the current live one. So if I were to refresh now, actually, you'll see that the top one is probably still there, but the second one isn't. Hello to Doug. Thanks so much for joining us. Great to have your company today. So I kind of brushed through the intro a little bit, but we are revisiting YouTube, and we're going to talk about optimization of the profile, what we can do with our playlists, and going to touch on podcasts. And I know that's a particularly controversial subject for some of us, but we'll get through it together. It'll be okay. So I'm just taking you through this. The For You is a really interesting feature. This is where YouTube decides the things that will probably most interest the viewer that ends up on your profile. You have no control over this. Whatever comes up, comes up. Although I must say, as someone who's been connected to, say, Sam Proof, for example, for, 17, 18 years, I went to his channel when he switched this on, and I was actually seeing a lot of YouTube videos that were of interest to me that I'd actually never seen before. So that was really, really cool. I still have the live now, which is really awesome. So if you were live, people could come to your profile and see that and click through. And then I've got some playlists, and this latest content one is one I've set up myself. I just add new content here when it becomes available. And then I've actually got different playlists for my different shows. So Learn Live Streaming with John Lacey, which is literally the one you're watching right now. EOBS Obsessed as well. And then the video and live streaming show with Sam Proof, which is kind of on hiatus at the moment, but it is there as well. I've got other playlists for guest appearances on other people's shows and different things as well. So we've got all of that happening. And again, I just want to say up front, like, I'm going to make a lot of suggestions about things you could do. I want to be really clear. I don't want you to run off and go and do all of these things immediately because it will be quite overwhelming. But, maybe make a list and start working on these things as you go, and I'll try and do the same thing here. So you can see here, I've got my my profile banner. And if we click edit on this one, you'll see that it'll actually give you some recommendations. And the thing that's important to keep in mind about this is different elements of this banner will be seen on different devices. So it is often a really good idea to actually think about keeping the most important stuff in the center of that image, because the largest view of that image, and they kind of recommend 2048 by 115 pixels. All of that will be shown on a smart TV, but if you're on a phone, for example, you'll only see a small portion of that. We've also got our picture. So this is essentially the little icon that'll follow you around YouTube. And again, it has to be a square, at least 98 by 98 pixels and 4 megabytes or less. I will say too, if you created an image and it looks really good, but you want to make it smaller in file size, this is one of my favorite things in the world. This is TinyPNG. So tinypng.com. You can literally just drag and drop your images over here. It'll crunch them down. You can download them again. I don't really understand the magic of this. Like, I don't understand how it works, because it'll take a very large image, it'll make it very, very small, and I visually can't see any difference. I imagine it's probably removing some of the metadata and just optimizing it, but that is really, really nifty. All right, so then we've got things like our name. So is the name of your channel still current, still accurate? Is it still the focus of what you're actually doing and putting out into the world? Because that will be something that's definitely worth keeping in mind. And I guess the thing is, if you create content for any period of time, there's a really good chance that your focus will change over time, and it's fine to come back and revisit any of this stuff at any point in time. And then we've got our handle. So I've sort of spoken about handles in the past. This is the way that people can identify you on YouTube. They can tag you in different things. So again, it's a good idea to use something that people are looking for. You can change this, but it can only be changed twice every 14 days. And to be honest, you probably don't want to change it too often, because that will just confuse people. And then we've got our description here. So this is a place that's definitely out of date for me. So I'm just going to read you what's written here. It says, have you ever wanted to learn to live stream? Join John Lacey as he explores the tools and techniques to go live to promote your products or services, your business or yourself, and help you build a presentation muscle in the process. Join us live for the video and live streaming show and coffee and content. Check out the live or podcast tabs on this channel. Stay tuned for more tutorials on OBS, Studio, Restream, Elgato Stream Deck, and more. So I guess, first of all, neither of those shows are particularly current, so I probably need to come back in and revisit that and maybe just talk about the shows I'm doing in 2025, which is something I can definitely do. Hey Erica, thanks for joining us from Talk Virtual. Great to have your company today. I'm just sort of talking people through, in fact, let's do this for a second. I'm just talking people through the different parts of YouTube that you might want to consider revisiting, especially if you've had a YouTube channel for a number of years. Stuff can go out of date. Sometimes the focus of your content will change over time. And there's nothing inherently wrong with either of those things, but it's a really good idea to come back in and check this periodically. I'm sort of recommending people do this, maybe twice a year, which again is probably not something I personally do, but be like I aspire to rather than how I actually am, because it'll make your life easier too. But if we head back to our profile options, so again, I'm just exploring the options that we have in terms of channel customization. We've got the banner, we've got the profile, we've got the name and the handle. Again, think about the terms that people might actually be searching for. We've got the channel URL, again, not terribly exciting for us, for our purposes. And then we've got links, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here, which I don't know that I really care about too much anymore. Like the fact that Twitter is on here. Even Instagram, I barely use Instagram. I might even get rid of some of these things. And if you do want to come in and add other things, we can go add link. And it really is just title of the link and the URL. So I'm going to open something up in a different window because I don't remember what this is, but I might even just put my Blue Sky URL in here. You can go find out what that is. And I'll say Blue Sky. And then you can actually drag and drop these into positions. So the thing is, the first one will actually be seen here, but then anything after the first one will be an additional link. So again, if I just publish that, and now if we go back to the channel and I will refresh, we'll see that it now says John Lacey and 2 more links. If I click on those 2 more links, you'll see that now one of them is Blue Sky and the other one is Facebook. Again, I'm on Facebook. I don't know that I use Facebook very often, but it is a thing there. So we kind of need to think about what is most important. Okay, and you know, that's literally what Saeed has said in the chat. So let's bring it out. So Saeed writes, I would say make your most important link at the topmost, like a newsletter or booking a call. Absolutely. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Saeed. And I guess in some ways, what you leave off of your YouTube channel is probably as important as the things you include. So definitely keep those in mind. Erica writes, I've signed up for Blue Sky, but haven't done anything with it yet. Yeah, I mean, there are so many social media options out there right now, and you probably can't be everywhere. It probably won't make you happy to be everywhere. But I must admit, I am enjoying Blue Sky. It's like how Twitter used to be a very, very long time ago. And, you know, it's the short updates, and if your people are there, it can be a great place to hang out. So it's up to you what you want to do there, but that's all good. All right, let's go back to our profile optimization options. There is contact information. I personally don't want to receive email from strangers on the internet, so I've left this blank. But again, if you're actually selling something, if you want people to get in touch with you, you can include that there. And we also have the video watermark. I'm really curious, do any of you use this? Because essentially what it will do, it'll put a tiny little image of 150 by 150 squares pixels at the bottom right hand corner. And when people click on this, they have the option to subscribe. And I think it's potentially quite a useful thing. I know Sam sort of cited somebody that used a QR code here, which is interesting, but a part of me doesn't enjoy knowing that part of my video will be visually obscured. So I don't personally use that, but if you wanted to, you certainly could. And again, I'd be really curious to hear if people are actually using that. So the other part of this, and those are pretty much the channel customization options. So we've got our banner, we've got our name and our handle and our about section. Again, I'm going to hopefully spend some time redoing my about section in the near future and go from there. But that's essentially what I wanted to show you in terms of the channel customization. But if we go back to here, we also have the home tab. So this is about the individual elements. Okay. So it's sharing a helpful hint here. So let me just bring that up. Say the facilitator writes, you can deactivate it in your video, so having it doesn't hurt. Okay, that's good to know. All right, awesome. Okay, so let's go back to the screen share. Again, this is the home tab. So this is all the stuff that's kind of happening underneath, you know, this section here with your general information. This is the home tab. Again, depending on what features you're using out of YouTube, you'll see these different headings like videos, shorts, live, podcasts, playlists, and posts. The posts is actually the community features. We'll talk more about those in a little bit. But once you get beyond those tabs themselves, everything else that comes underneath it is essentially this home tab, and we can sort of choose whether we want to use this or not. And that, interestingly enough, is actually the first option. Show your channel home tab to highlight and showcase your content for your audience. And that is on. And I don't know why I'd want to turn that off, but it looks like I have the option to. And then once we've done that, we've got the layouts. These are all the individual options that you can add. So for me, this says featured video for returning subscribers. I've got the Elgato prompter and camera and Stream Deck video. And that's a fairly old one, so I might even go in here and change this. So what I probably want to put people towards right now is this Rode Wireless Micro video. So if people haven't been to my channel for a while, they come back and look at that one. That can be the one for returning subscribers. Then I've got these other sections. And again, if you wanted to come in and add sections, admittedly, I've actually used up all 12 sections, so I don't know if I can do this, but I might even get rid of one of these just so I can show you temporarily. In fact, let's get rid of the upcoming live stream options for the moment. And now I can go add section, and I have all these options. So I can have a channel trailer. So that'll be a specific video that I want people to watch to understand what my channel is about. For you videos, the for you is actually already on there, so it's sort of that's why it's grayed out here, so I can't select it a second time. But we can sort of feature videos, popular videos, short videos, live now, past live streams, upcoming live streams, single playlist, created playlists, multiple playlists, subscriptions, and featured channels. So these are all potentially quite useful things, but again, you kind of want to give people enough options to keep them entertained on your channel, but not so many as to overwhelm them. So if you do have specific topics that you post about, or specific shows that you do, then this is probably a really good place to think about those. So here, for example, you'll see I've got a single playlist, which is the latest content. This is just a playlist that I keep adding content to when I upload it or create it or go live. And then we have individual playlists for different shows. Again, for guest appearances on other people's shows, the Learn OBS Studio videos as well, and my playlist for the podcast. There's lots of different things in here. I don't know if they're all the most exciting things. Interestingly, oh, okay, I confused myself there. But this is actually the live and video and live streaming show guests and co-hosts. And down here are actually my appearances on other people's shows. So you can really do whatever you like here. And hello to Ernesto, who's saying happy Friday. It's actually Saturday here in the future, but I appreciate the sentiment. Hope you've had a great week. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so if we go back to our home tab customization, again, we can actually click and drag and rearrange these things too. So if there's something that, maybe was that I want to feature more prominently, I can certainly just sort of drag it and drop it further up in the list. In this case, I'll move that back because I don't know that I really want to do that there. But we can do that as well. And I can go publish. And those changes will be reflected there as well. And Frozen Fusion is saying happy Friday. Happy Friday to you as well. I hope you're having a great week, everybody. So today on the show, we're really talking about, just revisiting your YouTube channel, because if you've had a YouTube channel for a number of years, there's probably a few things you haven't looked at for a while that probably need revisiting. It's probably worth dusting off the cobwebs and checking it out, just making sure that it's still relevant, it's still current. And if maybe your focus has changed, you might want to revisit some of these things and work out how you'd like to update them and change them. All right, so let's go back to the screen share, and you'll see, as I said, with these add section options, we can do all kinds of things. So we've got past live streams, upcoming live streams, live now, short videos. And I guess the other thing too is even this is just for the customization of the home tab. So people can, if you've got short videos, for example, people can click on the shorts tab and they will just see that content specifically. And it's interesting, I haven't made any shorts in a very long time, so I don't know if that's something I still want to do, but we can do that for the live as well. We can do that for podcasts. Podcasts are actually a specific type of playlist. And you sort of organize your videos into this playlist. It needs some square artwork for this format, and they will be available, I believe, on YouTube Music in the podcasting section as well. So it is possible to also bring in your RSS feed. So if you do have a audio only podcast, you can import it that way as well. I know some people don't love the idea of that. I think it's kind of up to you what you want to do in that space. But for me, like the one place I actually got comments on my audio podcast was actually in YouTube comments. So it's been quite useful. And I think if you are creating something, if you're putting it out into the world and sharing it freely, you might as well share it as widely as you can. All right. And then we've got sort of other playlists as well. So, and it's including a lot of my playlists, including some of the private ones, which I don't necessarily want to show you, but it is what it is. And they're showing up on the screen as well. And then we have the post section, which is essentially the community tab. So this is where we can come in, we can share videos and add some extra text around them. We can share text posts. I don't know if you heard about this one, and I saw this on a Facebook post recently, one of the OBS Facebook groups. Somebody was actually broadcasting a funeral, and they were using their iPhone as a camera. And the thing about the iPhone is that it actually, you know, if you do thumbs up and different actions, it'll actually animate balloons and things into the shot, which can be fun in some circumstances, but definitely not in a funeral. So just be aware of that, because you do actually have to turn that feature off every single time you use the phone. So keep that in mind. All right. Said writes, also, does YouTube add new features and stuff every once in a while? I mean, they certainly do. I don't know if that was actually a question or what, but or a statement, but thank you. Yes, I mean, they certainly do. You can keep an eye on that sort of thing. I guess in terms of these features, and again, I probably don't use this nearly as much as I should, but we've got the ability to add an image. We can do an image poll. We can do a text poll. We can do a quiz. So essentially, that's a question where there is one right answer and people choose. And once they're told, you know, once they've chosen, they'll be notified if they were right or wrong. And you can also add videos. These can be your videos. They can be other people's videos as well. So if I click in here and I can actually search for Facilitator, for example, and I could feature one of Said's videos in here. Or I could literally just copy and paste a URL into this box as well. So, you know, I could grab that one. I could insert it. I could write some text about it. In terms of the handles, like I could actually start typing in at the Facilitator, and then I can actually tag Said in there to let him know that I'm featuring him, and say, has some great tips on enhancing your Zoom meetings. And again, I can't type live on camera, but I really can't. That's hilarious. Check them out. So I could do that. The other great thing about the community post is you can post them straight away, but you do also have this scheduling option. And I appreciate it's kind of right behind my head in the screen share. So let me just bring that up a little bit higher so you can see this. So if you click on the little down arrow beside the post button, there is an option to say schedule post. And again, I need to scroll down because I've zoomed this in so large so you can see it all. But again, I can choose the date, I can choose the time, and the time zone as well. I'd probably leave it in your personal time zone. It could get very confusing very quickly if you don't do that. But again, those are some other great options there as well. All right, so let's talk about actually managing playlists. So I guess, why would you want to create and use playlists? For me, it's generally about organizing content, related content together is the big thing for me. So, you know, if you're featuring a specific piece of software or a technique or subject matter, it's a really great place to actually organize those there. I'm going to remove that there. All right, cool. It's interesting you say this, actually, Said. So Said writes, I'm not sure I ever saw a post from anyone in when scrolling through YouTube. I actually have. And the thing that's interesting is that you obviously have the option to subscribe to a YouTube channel at any point in time. And when you do that, hopefully you'll see more of their content. It'll appear in the list of the people that you follow. But if you don't subscribe to somebody, but you just keep watching their content, it has a way of just showing up in the feeds sort of organically. I say organically. It's the algorithm in process. That's what it does and how it works. But I've definitely seen people's posts pop up between videos in just a list of related content on a computer. I don't know that I've seen it as much on the phone, but I've definitely seen it on the computer. And for me, in some ways, I don't know that the community feature is the thing that's driving growth on YouTube. In fact, I kind of doubt that it is. But I think it's often a good place to continue some communication between videos, between lives, between shows, and that sort of thing as well. So I think it's worth exploring. Again, you only have so many hours in the day, and I think it's better if you're thoughtful about how you use that content rather than just sort of, dare I say, AI generating your way into stuff to share for sharing's sake. But, you know, you do certainly have those options out there. But I've seen that. I have definitely seen that, Saeed. So it's interesting that you haven't. But maybe I have a feeling, and again, it may even be because you're in Europe, that the legislation is a little bit different. And maybe the way that content is served up to you could potentially be different as well. But let's talk about playlists, because again, I think they are kind of useful. Again, I've got this one here. It says latest content, and I literally, in fact, if I click on this one, open it in here. Again, we have all these options to actually, when it comes to using playlists. And again, you need a title. It's a good idea to actually have a description. You can fit a lot of characters in here. In fact, it looks like there's 5,000 characters you can fit in here. You can sort of change the visibility of this. So is it public, private, or unlisted? And you can change the way this is organized. So the date added. So this is when I've actually added a new video to the playlist, which is kind of what I want for this one. I kind of want people to come to my profile, and outside of a few notifications about live content and a video for returning subscribers, I kind of want them to say, hey, this is the new stuff, let's check it out. But we can also publish by the date of the video, when it was uploaded, which one's most popular, or manually sorted in YouTube as well. So if I go and view this on YouTube, we'll see that we've got this playlist. We can play all. I can edit this, but other people can share this. I can link to this as well. And that's something that I do on LinkedIn quite a lot, is that every time I mentioned the video and live streaming show, for example, I would send them directly to this URL, which is the playlist. And the other thing that's a little meta, and I don't think most people can wrap their brain around this, is if you click into one of these videos from this playlist, you'll get a much longer URL, but it'll actually show them the video in the context of this larger playlist. So the great thing about that is if they have, the option to keep playing through the playlist one video after another, they can turn that on and listen to your content in the background for hours potentially, which can be really, really awesome. But essentially, I can go in and change things here. So if I go back to my playlist, my channel content. So if I go to my lives, for example, and eventually I'll want to add this live to that playlist. So in fact, let's do it right now. Seeing as I'm here, I can click in here and I can go add to playlist, and I can choose which ones I want. In this case, I will want this in the Learn live streaming live and the latest contents. And I will click save. And now if I refresh this page, you'll see that's in there. And again, because the way that I'm sharing this, because the newest video added to the playlist will appear at the top, which is kind of what I want in this context. So that works really, really well. Some other things that you can actually do in here, and again, I probably can't do it with this live video that I'm working on right now, but let's just go into a previous video on the OBS Obsessed show. We have all the video options here, and there's a good chance if you've been uploading to YouTube, you probably know a lot of these things. But you've got the title, you've got your description, you've got a thumbnail, which you can edit further down. We can adjust the visibility, but we can also add in things like end screens. And end screens are really, really useful. And I kind of forget to do this quite a lot of the time, if I'm being honest, especially for a live stream, because I have to wait until the video is kind of processed before I can do this. So I'll be tempted to sort of come in and do this straight away, and they'll be like, no, you really need to come back a day or two later and do this. But essentially, once you get to the end of this video, the last sort of 15 seconds, you will see some elements pop up here, and we can adjust where they are. We've got all kinds of different templates here. So if I go and delete some of these, well, actually I won't delete them. We'll just talk about them. So we can insert different video. In fact, no, I will. I changed my mind. I'm being very indecisive. I'm going to come in and delete these elements. And let's just talk about what the options that we have available to us here. So we can import from the latest video or a specific video, which is really awesome. We've got a video and a subscribe option. So if I click on this one, you'll see by default, it'll go to video best for viewer, which is YouTube making a determination about which one of your videos the viewer should watch next. But I can actually adjust this to most recent upload. I can change this to a specific video in my channel. Maybe I want them to look at this one, for example, and that way people will see it. And I've also got my little subscribe option over here. So again, this just features the icon that you've got available to you. But again, I'm going to delete that and this one here. And it's worth exploring all these different templates that they give you. So I like that one. But the other thing too is if you created a general template for a specific show, I can import this from a previous video. So this was an OBS obsessed one, so I'll use the other OBS obsessed. And again, it gives me the playlist, it gives me the subscribe option and the viewer, the best video for the viewer as determined by YouTube. So we've got those options there. And we can potentially rearrange these. So it's kind of up to you what else is going on in there, but you can add those in. That's really, really cool. I'm just going to discard those changes. I think they're still all right. We do also have the ability to add cards to our videos. So if there is a specific point at which maybe you talk about a different feature, and again, I'd probably need to watch more of this video to know what I was even talking about here. But I mean, obviously it's all OBS stuff, but I can actually come in and say, okay, this was a good overview, but maybe I've got an entire video on OBS and text, which I don't, but let's just pretend I do. I'll go, let's add in a video reference here. I'll just search for, and again, you can do this with your own videos or somebody else's. So again, if I don't have something, but I know Saeed does, I can sort of potentially send him off over there. But I could maybe bring in this one and say, watch this for even more tips. We've got the custom message and the teaser text, and then essentially it's going to pop up over here at a specific time in your video, and people can click on that and go to the other video. Whether you want to do this all the time is kind of up to you. I do have a video where I sort of taught about a specific OBS plugin, and I get so many questions about it now. A part of me is almost tempted to delete the video and move on with my life, but I'm thinking what I probably should do is make an updated video and just link to it constantly throughout that and just let people know, hey, that was the old advice, this is the new advice. You can go from there as well. And we can do that with videos, we can do that with playlists, we can do that with channels. So again, that channel thing would be a great option because, you know, if I've got Saeed on the show, which I have done previously, I could search for him, you know, at the end of the show when I'm talking about where people can find him, I can say, again, I can't type to save myself today. Haven't had enough coffee. Follow Saeed. Check out his channel. In fact, here I can see that's where the teaser text is. So I'd probably do it the other way around. Follow Saeed, maybe the facilitator. And again, I can choose where that pops up in the video. So I could rearrange that and move it over here. But again, it only works if it makes sense to do so for your content. But I just want to call those options out because I don't think everyone knows they exist and they can be quite useful. So we've got the end cards, we've got the cards. In a perfect world, I would come in and put proper subtitles on my live streams. I don't really have the bandwidth to do that right now, but it is something that you can think about. You can also change the thumbnail. So if you decide you want to do a different thumbnail, this is the one I designed for this particular show, but there are just different elements inside of the show, different screenshots, if you like, from that, to let them know visually what they're clicking on. So that's an option as well. All right, so this is Learn Live Streaming Live with John Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're talking about YouTube and some of the things that you might like to consider in terms of maybe revisiting, dusting off the old YouTube channel and maybe updating it for 2025. So we've been talking about the channel itself, those optimization options, making sure the about text is up to date, thinking about what calls of actions and links you actually want on your channel. And as Saeed pointed out, making sure that the most relevant one is at the top of that list, because that's the thing you'll see. Otherwise, you'll have to click through to actually find the other ones. So we've got that there as well. I guess the other thing we probably should talk about a little bit more, because I know it's a little confusing, and people sometimes get people have a lot of feelings about this last thing, but I think it's worth sort of talking about. So it is YouTube podcasts, and I know lots of people out there will tell you YouTube is not a podcast, and they're entitled to their opinion. I don't think it's something we need to obsess over. But what we can do is, if you do have podcast content that you want to group together and bring together, we do have a podcast tab in our channel content if you have that content on your channel. And we have the ability to bring this in. But I guess the other thing too, if we go to our playlists, I'm not even sure if this is necessarily the place I would do this. In fact, let's just go and grab a random video. So if I was going to do this one, for example, I can click the checkbox beside the video. I can go to add to playlists, and I can actually go and add a new playlist. But we've also got this option called new podcast. So the thing that differentiates a playlist from a podcast, and it's not very much in the scheme of things, but in a YouTube sense, a podcast has square artwork for it. So it's a square that you have to design and upload, and this is actually required. So make sure you do that before you get too carried away. But the other thing is the YouTube Music app, which is its own distinct app, will let you play these podcasts through that app. And it's not an app I personally use, but I imagine there are lots of people that pay for YouTube Music and use that for both music and podcasts. So again, if you've got the content, if you're sharing it, it could be a really useful place to do this. And again, it's really simple. You don't need to wait for anybody to sign off on the fact that your collection of videos is a podcast or not. We just need a title, a description, and a thumbnail. In fact, even the description is kind of optional. So you can do what you like from there. And then if I get out of this screen, go back to the podcasts, we'll actually have these here. And again, most of these options are pretty much identical to, in fact, I think it's nearly all identical except for the thumbnail, as the other playlists. But we've got the ability to have these in the date published, or the date sort of newest to oldest, most popular. Again, I'd probably want to have this as newest or manually sorted. The thing about this, even if you don't think of your content as a podcast, if you've got something that people can listen to and not lose too much meaning by not seeing, you can group these together, describe what it is, and people on the YouTube Music app can potentially search for it. They can listen to it in the background. It potentially can, add to your watch time on YouTube. So that's another thing you can do. Again, if you do have, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but seeing as it's actually popping up on the screen, let me zoom in and show you this more. If you connect an RSS feed to your podcast, then new episodes will be added to the RSS feed automatically and uploaded to your podcast on YouTube. You do get a static image with this. So, if that's not what you want to do, you might need to think about doing this separately or manually if you want to have a video version and an audio only version. But if you do just want to share that as a podcast, as an audio podcast, you can certainly do that in that way. And I haven't actually done that with my podcasts, because my podcasts have been on here longer than that's been an option. But if I show you this Build a Presentation Muscle podcast playlist, for example, and I'll just zoom out a little bit, and I'll go view this on YouTube. All these are static images, and they've been uploaded. And it's not like I've set the world on fire here. Like, I want to be really clear. This is not necessarily the greatest place for podcasts. But I've definitely got comments on these things in a way that I don't usually hear from people normally as a result of an audio-only podcast. So, Again, it's kind of up to you what you want to do there. It's a very contentious space amongst traditional audio podcasters, but you have the option there. Experiment with it, see if it's appropriate for you. All right, I feel like I've been talking for a really long time. In fact, looking at the clock, I've been talking for 40 minutes without a break. So I'm going to throw to a promo. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. But if you do have specific questions or recommendations or ideas about YouTube, let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear about those from you, but we'll be back in just a second. Hi, I'm John Lacey, and in Build a Presentation Muscle, I want to talk about finding your voice, refining and sharing your message, using tools and technology to share that message, and looking after yourself as a creator. And that's a podcast promo for Build a Presentation Muscle, which you can learn more about over at johnlacey.com. And he presses the magical button just to see if that still works. And yes, it does. Okay, that's awesome. All right, so in terms of our YouTube optimization, again, there's lots of things you can do. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try to do everything all at once, but just keep in mind those things that we can think about. So certainly making sure that your profile is up to date, thinking about what are the most important things you want to draw to people's attention, making sure they're most prominent. You can create playlists, you can feature specific videos, you can sort of bring them up in the order of things on the page, because obviously the things at the top of the page are much more likely to be seen than the things at the bottom of the page. Not everyone's going to scroll. And again, if you do have links, make sure that first link is the most important one, because that is the one that will be displayed without hitting that about option to bring up the rest of the information. So we have those there. Thinking about organizing your content into podcast playlists or just normal YouTube playlists can be really useful. The other thing I guess I hadn't sort of mentioned is that we can go and add other people's content to our playlist. So that's really, really cool. In fact, let me show you how that works. We'll go to, I'm always using Said as a guinea pig because he's always here and I always appreciate that. And there was a point during the week where I thought, I don't know if I'm feeling like doing the show this week, but I thought I don't want to let down Said. Like nobody else will probably show up, but Said will be there. All right, let's go back to a screen share. So here we are at the facilitator. Again, it just dawned on me that I haven't got my chatbot up, so I might just open that up in the background. I'll put a link to his channel in the chat in a second, but youtube.com/@thefacilitator. And here we've got his videos and sort of guest star moments. That's exciting. So many guest star moments. Oh, there he is on my show. It's fun. All right, popular videos for you. So again, these are the ones that YouTube are kind of recommending that I check out specifically. We've got the shorts as well. All right, so if I come in and I'm like, I probably wouldn't choose the Zoom one because I don't really use Zoom, but let's go in and check out the videos that we've got here. So the Stream Deck buttons, and I'm actually on this one, funnily enough. But hell, that'll work. So if I click through, and it's going to play me an ad for Adobe because, of course, it does. It doesn't really understand. I don't like that company, and I probably won't purchase anything from them ever. So I don't know. Let's turn off the screen share while that does its thing in the background. And when I can skip it, we'll go back to it. All right. So here we go. I'll pause that. I don't want to hear myself back a second or third time. But essentially, what we can do here is we go to those three dots. Not the three dots, the share. This will be the point I completely forget how this works, Sayed, so you might need to remind me. In fact, if I go back to the previous screen, this is probably an easier place to do this, but I can click on the three dots from here, and I can go to Save to Playlist, and then I can create a new playlist here, or I can just use one of the other ones. So if there is a specific topic, maybe you want to feature other people's content as well as your own, that's a really good way of doing it. So if you want everybody to know about the Stream Deck, for example, that would be such a great use case. In fact, if I go Save to Playlist, I have the weirdest feeling I might even have... I mean, I've got live streaming equipment and accessories. Maybe that's what it is. But if I go New Playlist and I go Stream Deck tips and tricks. I can make that private or public. I can collaborate, which is interesting. I've never seen this before. So that's really interesting. I'm going to just turn that on and see what happens. Let's go create. All right, so it looks like it's going to give me the ability to share something with somebody. So I can actually copy a link, or I can actually allow people to do different things. Collaborators, yep. So I could send that link to Said. Maybe he can find other Stream Deck videos. Maybe we can build a playlist together. That's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing. So I'll turn that off for the moment. But that is interesting that that you can collaborate in that sense. So if you're co-hosting something and you've got one definitive playlist and you both want access to it, that would be a really powerful feature. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I've learned something today, so that was worth doing the show for. And Said writes, that's a great motivation to go live. Yes. And Said is saying that seems new and is interesting. So that's really cool. Erica from Talk Virtual says, I have a speaking gig playlist where I'll add other channels posts that have featured me. Absolutely. I guess the other thing too, if I go back to my channel and I go to Customise Channel, and we go back to the Home tab options, and again, if I add a section, we do also have this feature channels option. So if you are collaborating with other people, I can say other cool people, and then I can do the facilitator. I can do Talk Virtual. Who else is in the chat? Who else can I reward? I don't know if Ernesto is still lurking. I don't know what Doug's channel is exactly. There he is. Yeah, I can do that. So I can pick different channels to feature over here, and I can sort of drag and drop these around in different positions if I wanted to. And if I go done and go to publish, and again I can move it up further up, I can go publish. I can go back to my channel and refresh, reload the page, and we go right down the bottom. We'll see that we've got other cool people here. So we can do that as well. We can come in here and sort of feature people. Sam, of course. I can't believe I forgot about Sam. That's awkward. Let's go in and do that now. I really miss hanging out with Sam. Like we do still chat and stuff, but it's not the same as doing the show with him, and I wish that his internet connection was a little bit better. Let's go find Cute Avalanche as well while we're in here. So it could be that you're featuring other people, other channels. It could be that you have other side projects that have their own distinct YouTube channel. There's all kinds of options here. It's really, really cool. And again, if I go back down here and reload the page and go right down the bottom, again, I could move this further up. So it looks like only 3 of them will appear here, but it is kind of like a carousel option. So we can click through and we can go and see Sam and the Cute Avalanche there as well. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do there. And I guess, like, in some ways, you just want to think about what is most important. What do you want to draw people's attention to? How can you make that stuff easier to find? Erica writes, I learned something new today. Also, thank you, John. You're very welcome. And Said writes, I will use that one. Never saw it. Will add some of my buddies. Yep, absolutely. Hello, Lynn. Thank you so much for joining us from Eagles Country. I don't know exactly where Eagles Country is, but I'm assuming it's in America. But tell me more. But great to have your company, and go that local sports team. Said is saying that maybe it's because I'm zoomed in so much that I'm only seeing 3. And actually, he's right. If I zoom out, I can see more. So let me just share that screen. So if I do zoom out, you can certainly see more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 90%. If I go to 100, yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can see more of them. So it will depend on the device that you're on and how zoomed in you are and all those things. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely different options to feature people. And I know it's a little hard here because I pretty much used all 12 elements on here. But the thing is, I could potentially have several of these. So it could be, you know, follow these people for OBS content, follow these people for live streaming content, follow these people for podcasting. So it just depends on what makes sense in your particular option. But yeah. And apparently Lynn's telling me it's the Super Bowl. I don't know anything about sports, but good luck to everybody involved with that. And Rose is saying, thanks, John. It's been a pleasure. You're very welcome. And Doug sort of notes that, you know, featuring other channels for collaboration is definitely an awesome use for that featured channels option. So again, you've got a lot of options, and I never want to overwhelm you with too many options because we all live very busy lives, but just have a bit of play with those, freshen it up a little bit, rearrange some stuff, see how it looks. Admittedly, it's probably not the first place people will go to unless you remind them that you have a YouTube channel. And that is kind of a thing that I like to do anyway on other social media, is that I will say, hey, I've got this live show coming up shortly. Come and find it over here and you can learn more. Seed writes, I hope both teams have fun. Yes, absolutely. I love it. It's probably nothing I'm less qualified to talk about than sports on the planet. So bring it on. So I am curious, like, you know, I hope that's been useful for you today. Are there things that you want to sort of explore on your own YouTube channel? Maybe rearrange a few things, maybe update that about section, that bio. I certainly need to do that. Maybe think about the different links that are in there, because social media has been a very changeable landscape lately. So maybe you don't want to send people to Twitter. I certainly don't want to send people to Twitter. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do over there. I did say I was going to feature a link to Saeed's channel, so let me do that in the chat as well. Haven't quite finished logging into the old chat bot. Maybe I can just do it from a different screen anyway. But essentially, go find Saeed at youtube.com/@thefacilitator. And hopefully that is the right link that I just typed in there. I'm sure it is. Let me click on it though, just to make sure. Yes, it is. Okay, awesome. So essentially just that one, check it out, the youtube.com/@thefacilitator if you want to check out Saeed's content. He does a lot of stuff with OBS and Zoom and facilitators and trying to make things fun. So definitely check that out. But I hope you have a great weekend and a great week. And I will be back next week for OBS Obsessed. That is the OBS Studio specific show. I know it's not for everybody, but if you do want to check it out, by all means, please do. Saeed writes, we'll add a link tree, bento link to my links and add some featured channels from my friends. That's cool. Awesome. So now that the chat box is finally working, the chat bot, I should say, it's spitting out all kinds of weird and wonderful messages that probably don't make any sense at this point in the show, but that's okay. So like I said, have a great week. Have a great weekend when you get there. I know it's still Friday for many of you, but I'll be back next week to talk about OBS. But until then, take care. And, you know, maybe take a little bit of time and spruce up that old YouTube channel.